Welcome back, viewers and listeners. I'm joined on set this morning by our dear friend, Miss Juanita Headley, attorney at law, a little lady with a big message, because every time you come on Tobago Channel 5, we're talking human trafficking.
That's right.
And of course, it's a topic that has become very dear to you. And you travel the world.
Yes.
You get all the time on every station you can to talk about the dangers of human trafficking. So I'm going to give you a little opportunity to introduce yourself for our new viewers.
Sure. My name is Juanita Headley. I'm a New York attorney, and I have an NGO called Changing Cases. This NGO is based on helping to empower individuals around the world to educate them on the scourges of exploitation, and then beyond that, helping individuals in impoverished communities. I've just come back from the Philippines, India, Singapore, England, and the US. So a lot of traveling. But yeah, it's a great opportunity to be here and to be able to inform people on the latest updates on what I've heard recently and what I've experienced and been exposed to.
Ms. Headley, usually when we think human trafficking, we think of some people being stuffed in a container, sent abroad, and exploited in that kind of way. But there is another type of human trafficking, so someone can just, where someone can be exploiting you right in your neighborhood, right in your home. So you want to tell us a little bit about that?
This is specifically known as grooming. So grooming is when a person will, for example, provide you finances, do your hair, nails, makeup, take you shopping. They'll build a relationship with you, one based on trust. And I know of a young girl right here in Tobago who actually has been groomed by an older guy, not trafficked, but she entered into a sexual relationship with him. And as a result of that relationship, she became incredibly vulnerable and suicidal, to be honest with you, because of what she experienced. The sad thing about it is that a number of girls enter into these relationships with a guy, usually, and then there's a point when he says, have sex with my friends, and then it goes on from there. And then in South America, we have men who get married to a woman for the purpose of pimping her out. So her husband is indeed her pimp, which she doesn't realize, of course.
All right. Well, you talk about grooming. Online, people are seduced or are lured into the trap. In some cases, people are offered a better life, in some cases, to varying parts of the world. Half of the times, it's a hoax. How do you caution young ladies? Well, I guess this is an opportunity we can speak on the broad topic, because that's one of the major way of recruiting and, of course, having people become slaves, sex slaves in some cases. How do you guard against or young people or young ladies, or young men, in some cases for their body parts or their so on. But let's deal with that whole question of what should people look out for when messages are sent on their phones and so on.
It's very broad, and there's individuals who will send inappropriate photographs. They will friend request you. We have people who go out of their way to simply go online to find a girl, and they will build a relationship often over months and months. So I know of a young girl who was groomed for up to a year. The relationship became sexual, but it started with pornographic photographs. And I know of a gentleman, I don't know if I can call him that, who has been incarcerated in the United Kingdom for creating hurt core, where he would get girls to produce pornographic imagery, and then he would sell this imagery on. So that was more pornography, but also trafficking, but online cyber sex, we would call that. Yeah.
But so there are people from different parts of the country here. Presently, they would say to you, I got here based on, my intention or the intent was for me to become a domestic worker.
Yes.
And they're lured in, their passport are seized, and all their travel documents, in some cases, legitimately travel to the country, and their passports are seized and all of that, and they now become domestic worker eventually, as you said, sex workers and so on. What protection, or how can these perpetrators, should we say, these criminals be caught, or is there a plan by, I don't know if there's an organization called Trafficking, I don't know what, but and you can speak to what you represent. Is this individually that you're doing this? Tell us where and how can people get help in the event that they are screaming out for help?
In the United States, there is the National Trafficking Hotline number, and there's also the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And these numbers, which you can find online, including Polaris Project, are great resources for getting information, for reporting if you see something. because at the end of the day, it does happen. And in other countries, particularly third world, we don't know where to go, where to reach out to. But having those resources is, of course, great and helpful, because it means that if we see something, we're able to report it, and then the authorities get involved. The challenge we have in Trinidad is a lot of people believe that the police are corrupt, and so they don't know who to trust. But right here, we do have the counter-trafficking unit, and Alana Wheeler spearheads this organization, and she's doing phenomenal work. And I trust her, but of course we know outside of the counter-trafficking unit, who exactly do we reach out to, and where can we get the help and be safeguarded? Because there are occasions when a child or a woman or a boy is rescued, and then they're rescued and brought into further exploitation by the authorities.
Okay, let's get a little, let's bring it home. We just talked about the anti-trafficking unit here. Do you think when you enter Trinidad and Tobago, do you feel safe? Do you feel any sort of security? The sense of security if something does happen, as you just said, people are afraid of, people think police officers are corrupt.
Yes.
That's just the opinion of some people.
Sure.
But do you feel a sense of security here?
I would say in Trinidad, I feel a sense of security. I'd say that coming into the airport, that it feels like a safe haven. But coming into the Tobago airport, I don't feel that way, and I feel very vulnerable. So when I landed a few days ago, I was outside of the carriage area where you collect your baggages, and the staff there I found incredibly disrespectful, and they didn't want to sort of understand my situation, meaning that I'm here alone, it's late at night. I don't want to be just hanging out on the street, and they didn't seem to want to offer any assistance whatsoever. And I don't want to be one of those people who says, do you know who I am? Because, you know, in the eyes of the world, I'm just a regular person. But for those who traffic and exploit in Trinidad and Tobago, I'm trying to destroy their industry. And they're not going to like this. So I feel pretty vulnerable when I'm in Tobago, because there is no safe place for me to wait when I land and arrive and the person who's collecting me isn't there. But then at the same time, my friends tell me that I shouldn't leave the house, I shouldn't go out by myself. So because of the nature of the work that I do, unless I'm chaperoned, I'm housebound. And I don't like that. I've been all around the world. I've traveled to 27 countries, and I've traveled a lot alone. And I've never been in a country where I cannot leave my house.
Okay, let me get to that. I want you to, this is serious. Now, you're saying that you are here in Tobago. You didn't feel safe at the airport.
No.
Why didn't you feel safe? Let's get that specifically.
I didn't feel safe because, number one, I'm alone. Number two, I don't know anybody there. I feel vulnerable because I stand out. I've met people who know who I am. They're like, oh, I've heard you on the radio, or I've seen you on TV or in the newspaper. And I've spoken in so many schools, churches, community centers that my voice, my name, my mission is known. And I know it's known because I meet people who say, you were at my son's school, you were at my daughter's church. And so the more I'm known, the more the traffickers will become aware of who I am. And I talk about child abuse and incest. So there are some family members who will not be too happy because I'm shaking up the hornet's nest.
All right, so weren't you supposed to be picked up by somebody? What was the arrangement to have you transported from the airport to your hotel?
I was waiting for a friend to collect me, and the friend was running late. So I was calling various people, and I waited for an hour inside, and I had on a Jesus t-shirt because I'm a born-again Christian, and one of the taxi drivers made a comment that I found inappropriate. He said, she's wearing a Jesus t-shirt, but she's really insecure. It's not insecurity, it's wisdom, because things do happen regardless of where you are, regardless of your gender. We are vulnerable when we're in a new land and we don't know the people, especially a place like Tobago that is very small, and so small, I've probably met a trafficker. As ridiculous as it sounds, the fact that these girls are going missing, I have probably come into contact with a trafficker.
Okay, let's talk about the safety element in public places, similar to the airport and others. So just like any other traveler whose travel arrangements may have gone awry, you are saying you do not think the airport offers enough safety options for users.
I feel the Tobago airport does not. In Trinidad, it's completely different. It's a lot more organized, and I understand that people are coming in internationally, but